Now that we know how to write our hook, let's go ahead and get started with writing the paragraph. Remember last week we created this chart all about these 4 individuals that fought for our rights in the United States. And I'm going to be modeling for you how to do that with Alice Paul. So I have all the information up here in my chart about Alice Paul. I have when she fought for our rights, how, and what the result was. So I've filled that information and I'm going to be using it as I need it for my paragraph. You are going to be choosing 2 more for your other 2 details. So my first detail is going to be Alice Paul. You get to choose from this list of people who you want to have for your other 2 details in your paragraph. So starting with our hook, I really liked the hook that was the description. I have it over here. I'm going to use that description one. And remember, you have to indent. So I made like fancy lines here so you can see that I'm indenting, but I'm starting with my hook, my first sentence, so I always indent that first sentence. So let's get started. I'm going to use the fun fact for my hook. My fun fact, remember, was many Americans have worked hard to provide equal rights to all citizens. So I didn't like the way it was completely when I wrote it in the other video. I just switched up some of the wording a little, but not a whole lot, just to make it sound better. And that's normal in writing. You're going to move things around constantly. So I'm going to write, capitalizing my first letter, because it's the beginning of a sentence. I'm also capitalizing the word Americans because it is a proper noun. It's the name of a person from a country. Many Americans have worked hard to provide equal rights to all citizens. I'm done with that sentence. I put my period. So that is my hook. So I want to make sure on my checklist that I just wrote my hook. I can put a little check right here on my poster to remind me, okay, I just wrote my hook. Now I'm ready to write my topic sentence. So the topic sentence tells the reader what you're going to be talking about. I'm going to be talking about all of these people that fought for our rights in the United States. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to list all of them. The people that I decided to write about, my first detail will be Alice Paul. I'm going to also write about Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King. So I wrote that in my topic sentence. I'm going to write that in my topic sentence and say that they were important leaders in fighting for our rights. So I'm going to keep going and I'm going to list the people that I chose. You are all going to have Alice Paul, like the Alice Paul detail, and then it might be different. You might not have Rosa Parks, you might want Cesar Chavez and Martin Luther King, or you might want Rosa Parks and Cesar Chavez. Any way you want to mix it, but it will start with Alice Paul for everyone. So Alice Paul, and my choice was Rosa Parks, comma, I'm making a list of people, so I write commas between them. And my last one, I write the word and, Martin Luther King Jr. were, and I'm making sure all my verbs are past tense because it happened in the past, were all important leaders and again, this is my topic sentence. They were all important leaders in the fight for rights for all. Period. So I have my hook and I have my topic sentence. So far it says, many Americans have worked hard to provide equal rights to all citizens. Alice Paul, Rosa Parks, and Martin Luther King were all important leaders in the fight for rights for all. So far I have my hook have my topic sentence. Again, that topic sentence introduces the reader what you're going to be talking about. It's that main idea. It's also where you're kind of restating, so if the question was, who were some important leaders that fought for our rights? The answer would be Alice Paul, Rosa Parks, and Martin Luther King were all important leaders in the fight for rights for all. Now I'm ready to write that first detail. The first detail, I'm only going to be focusing on one person, Alice Paul. The second detail, I'm only going to be focusing on one person. You get to choose who you want to only focus on. It could be Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, or Cesar Chavez. And then for your third detail, same thing, you choose. So I'm just going to be modeling for you detail 1. Detail 1 is where you answer and then you explain. So I'm specifically talking about Alice Paul and how she was a leader in our history for our civil rights. And explain means I'm explaining how. I'm explaining all these extra details that we have from that chart last week. Let's get started. So I'm going to start with my person, Alice Paul. And I'm just going to introduce that she was an important woman in history because she fought for women's rights to vote. So Alice Paul was an important woman in history because she fought for the women's right to vote. And did I make this all up from my head? No, I got this all from the text. She was an important woman in history because she fought for a woman's right, apostrophe S because it is women's right. The rights belong to the women, so it's possessive. Right to vote. Period. So there's my answer. Now I'm going to explain. When I explain, I like to use as many details as I can. So it doesn't mean that it's going to just be one sentence. You can do more than one sentence for your explain, but so far I have 4 sentences, and I can do 5. I want more because I want to use all that information from the chart. So I'm going to talk about how in the text, remember how she organized marches first in England and it inspired her to do that same thing in the United States? I'm going to talk about that, like how she, not only did she help women's right to vote in England, she also did it in the United States. So I'm going to say that. Not only, so this is my explain, not only did she lead marches, those parades, or another word for parades or marches, not only did she lead marches in England, in the United States, she started out fighting for women in England. I just want to talk about how awesome that was of her to do that for 2 countries. Wow, that does make her an important person in history, huh? Not just United States history as well. She started out fighting for women in England. Period. I also want to talk about how I want to use that information I got from the result, like what was the result. So in my chart I wrote that these parades brought attention to the issue of women's right to vote, and later in 1920 women were gained the right to vote. So I'm going to talk about that. Her parade in the US, I'm going to abbreviate it, that's fine. It's fine because I've already written it out here. So if you write a word that's abbreviated, make sure that you have it in both ways. So her parade in the US was a success. And I'm changing the wording a little bit so it's not completely copying the text. You want to make sure that it's your work. So I'm changing the way it sounds, changing the wording a little. So her parade in the U.S. was a success because it brought attention to the issue. To the issue. And then my last explanation will be how she succeeded. In 1920, women gained, I like that verb, gained the right to vote. Period. So that is my hook, my topic sentence, and I've got my detail one. My detail one includes answer and explain. You are going to be doing detail two. Make sure it's an answer and an explain for twice. So you're going to be doing that for detail two and detail three. Again, you're going to choose from the other three people in the text that we have left. So you can make yours look like this. Yours will look like this. You're going to finish it with detail two, detail three, and then you're going to write your conclusion. Conclusions are really easy. You're just repeating the topic sentence. You might change a little bit of the wording around to make it sound like a closing sentence, but that's just your hook, topic sentence, detail one. Hope this video helps, and ask your teacher if you have any questions. Bye.